That's it. That's all. Yes, we starting from the top.
Yes.
We're back at the top. Club members, welcome. Me and Mark are sitting here laughing. Interracial brother Mark, who is single still, ladies, just in case you're wondering. And we were giggling that we both thought Kamala Harris may have been attractive when she was younger. And then I had to admit that we're only doing this podcast because we want to hit on club member sisters who we think are particularly attractive. So there's our confession for the day.
I know.
We have no interest in the community.
We're frauds.
You guys are doing this just to meet hot interracial chicks. Club members. Yes, we are. That's true. Welcome. It's always good to see you guys. We are at 4,900 subscribers. 5,000 this week, Mark, you think?
I hope so.
There's the commitment from Mark.
Confidence.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
It feels strong. There's so much stuff to talk about, but the one thing I've been wanting to talk a lot about are unidentified aerial phenomena, which is the government phrase for UFOs. I haven't discussed this with you guys before, but I have been obsessed with UFOs for 10 years. UFOs, archaeology, hot club member sisters, that, the basics. And, we take back the earlier Kamala Harris position. That's not what we're looking for. But we're going to talk about UAPs today, unidentified air phenomena, which just cracks me up. Give it a different 3-letter acronym.
They won't freak out if we change the name.
Oh my gosh, it's nutty. Before we get to that, though, one of the things that we talk about in this podcast the most, and one of the things that I think is most important from what it is that we're trying to do on this podcast, and that is explain and elevate what I think is the important role that we as multicultural people can play in the community. And part of that role is, or one portion of that is, I know that as a multicultural person, I have more empathy for people. I think that because you end up viewing people for what they are, not what their ethnicity is or anything like that. And there's an inherent level of understanding when you know people, when you talk to people. And I am 100% for supporting club members, and we're going to talk about that forever. And unfortunately, at least in my mind, sometimes club members have different perceptions than we do. And what I want is for club members coming up to adhere to what we think is important, which is to be kind and to be empathetic and to try to change this world in a positive way. Excuse me. However, or on that point, I was watching Kamala Harris this week talking about the border situation, talking about her obligations. I supported Kamala Harris, and again, because she's a club member. I've had real reservations about her forever, frankly, though. People talk about the New York stop and frisk. California, while Kamala Harris was Attorney General, led the nation in stopping and frisking African Americans, Latinos, people of color. Her position is extraordinarily I think, distorted relative to people of color. She routinely supported or did not indict. In fact, as I understand, I think I'm positive she never indicted a member of law enforcement for police brutality or police violence against anybody. Not that California is perfect, but I can assure you this, there's been plenty of circumstances in California while Kamala Harris was Attorney General in which an officer needed to be indicted for police violence, and she did none of that. She is, anyway, I think she's just mean-spirited, I guess is where I'm going with this. So
she's a grouch.
She really is.
Yeah.
You know what she really is? She's kind of like an old, grumpy white lady. It's just like, why? She is, I read the same, they said she has the warmth of a pterodactyl. I was like, that's a good line. I'm going to use that.
I know.
Here's what the most recent thing is she is in charge of trying to control immigration into the country and to limit illegal or unauthorized immigration. It's funny, and we don't have to go into great length, but this idea that, we are the ones who are here first, and we have to stop these aliens from coming in, is always humorous to me. But Kamala Harris is the point person on this for Joe Biden, and yesterday she gave an interview, and she's going to Guatemala to have discussions about stemming the tide of migrants coming to America. And by the way, it's just economics, and another portion of it is just people, children being raped, kids being killed. So they say, hey, you know what? Instead of these people raping and killing my kids, I'm going to come to the United States of America. Apparently that is a bad thing, and we should not allow it. And so the government's approach is to try to stem it in Guatemala and places like that. Kamala Harris was flying to Guatemala, and she was being interviewed, and she just go check it, Google it, and they're asking her about, well, are you going to go to the border? And Kamala Harris immediately falls into the political games of, we have been to the border. We've been to the border. And the reporter says, well, have you been to the Mexican border? Well, we have been there too. And then the reporter says, have you personally been there? And she gets this look, and she's distorted and angry. And she says, I haven't been there, but I also haven't been to Europe either. Now, I don't want to say that sounds like shit, and it's elitist and it's painful, but God, that's elitist and shitty and painful for you to take that position. Instantly, she has forgotten about these people. Her family are immigrants. I mean, literally, her father is from, I think, where is he from? I'm missing this, but her mother is from Thailand, right? And she's Thai, I believe, and her father is from the Caribbean.
I believe he's West Indian.
West Indian.
Yeah.
And so it's ironic that the multicultural club member from parents from different countries is uncomfortable about going to the border, and her biggest complaint is she hasn't been to Europe either.
Yeah, I also think, you don't get any extra points, or you're not extra American because you haven't seen the world.
Right.
Being American is being just in the, when you go other places, you can go somewhere and just be like, there's an American,
right.
There's an American. It's
right.
just how it goes.
Right.
Even when we're not colonizing places, we're colonizing them on vacation.
Right.
It's just what we do. It's just what we do.
And correct and true, but it's also what limits us. I mean, that's just such a fucked up statement.
Yeah, it
like
makes
you
no
haven't been to
sense.
Europe. It's like, what about these people on the border?
Yeah.
And she didn't do shit. And it's just, I just have to say it is this. We can do better. She is not going to be elected president. By the way, she has zero warmth. She has zero empathy and compassion. You would think, as a person of multicultural background of immigrants, you would have some compassion for people on the border.
It almost seems like she is president, though. I see her doing more stuff than I see Joe Biden doing.
Well, I think they're both, and again, I mean, they're better than what we had, but but here's one of my main points on this.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any difference, and I've said it over and over. There's no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats when they get into office. Mm-hmm. It is, and if there is, it's at the margins. It's just, and they really are. Here's what thing I keep going back to. It's loan forgiveness, student loan forgiveness. They could write off the entire student loan debt of every American, and it's like $1 trillion. And they won't do that, but they will give. They've given Wall Street trillions of dollars in just loan guarantees. You can borrow whatever you want, no interest. And when it comes to, though, helping regular families out, they just don't care. And it's, again, the Democrats and the Republicans are the same. It's sad. It's sad. On that same point, and the issue of unidentified aerial phenomena / UFOs,
Whoa.
the government has lied to us about this for years, and they continue to lie about it. And I told Mark last week, I said, we're going to do a UFO segment because this is my thing. And it used to be one of my dating kind of things.
Yeah.
Women would come to my place. I'd say, hey, have you seen the UFO videos? And they're like, what? Boom. It works. And, but what's amazing to me is that the government has now been forced, they have to produce a report by June 25th detailing UAP or UFOs. And one thing that the government always does when it's not just blatantly lying to us, it sets it up so that it can distort what it's saying to us or give certain facts that are misleading. And the reason they do that is because people will buy them and accept them. This idea of UFOs and UAPs and this report that's coming out in June, 10 days maybe, is going to be one of the greatest government misleading efforts of all time. And it's going to be that because we allow it to be it. And we also refuse to call things truthfully. We refuse to look at things and say, this is what happens. And the perfect example of this are these UAPs. What the government is going to do, and they're already starting to spin now, what they're saying is, yes, there are these aircraft that we have literally zero idea of how they do it. They literally go from the land into the water. They go faster than the speed of light. They do all of these things. And so for the first time, the government is now conceding that they have no idea why they do that, purportedly conceding it. They are also saying, well, this is kind of new phenomena. And so what they say that they've leaked a portion of the report, and it says there are 120 unexplained events with aircraft doing extraordinary things, over and over and over again. But that's only 120 events. We can't really explain it. That is the first step of the absolute distortion, the attempt to mislead, the attempt to say, listen, we're telling you the truth. We really are. But they're not. They're not. This report, 120 events, is laughable. The government has been tracking UFO, UAP phenomena forever. There was a 60 Minutes did this piece, which was great. 60 Minutes piece. You should go see it on UAP. One of these pilots says, we observed the same UFO, the same UAP for 2 years. Every day for 2 years. And so, according to the government, that there's only 120 of these events. Well, if you are observing the exact same UFO phenomena every day for 2 years, that puts us at 365, 685. It's just not true. And that's just on the West Coast. When they had the Tic Tac videos that have come out, and that's this Major Fravor, who's a interesting dude. He's a flight leader, and he's just said we watched this thing. It was unbelievable. You'll hear a lot about the Tic Tac, but his story is not as compelling as was one on the East Coast where, again, for a year they observed every single day unidentified flying objects, UAP, that they could not explain. And when they say they can't explain them, that's not even true. What they say, here's how they explain them. They have technology, they have abilities we've never seen before. They fly faster than the sound of light. They're transmedium, meaning they go from air into the water with no splash. And so they really can't identify them. Yeah. They just and so Fravor has his situation, which is the Tic Tac, and then you have the situation on the East Coast, which for a year they observed them. You have the situation on the West Coast, which 60 Minutes talked about, which was for 2 years. So we have these situations where the government is literally watching these events, and yet they're going to do this report and say there were only 120 of these that we've been able to observe. It is disturbing, and it's also just misleading in the sense that at some point in time you expect the government to be truthful at some level. One of the issues with these UAP is that there really have been multiple near miss encounters between UAP and jetliners and things like that. There's also this reality, which is people are going to learn about this. The government should tell us the truth now. But instead of doing that, they just continue this cover up, and it's disturbing. And because and I know people are like, you're crazy talking about UFO. It's like, I'm not. There is zero question that this exists. They are here. They've been here. The universe is 14 billion years old. 14 billion years old, and what what the government wants us to believe, and other people, other entities want us to believe, is that we're the only people, the only life forms in the entire 14 billion year old universe is on Earth. There's this physicist named Brian Cox who you guys should watch him. He's riveting. He's great. He used to be in a band. Brian Cox says that he estimates there are 200 billion alien civilizations in the universe. So think about that. 200 billion alien civilizations. Now, people think that's a gigantic number, but you have to just put that in the context of the universe, which is hundreds of trillion. I mean, it's one of these things where if you have Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a kind of a conservative physicist, says, this UAP stuff is just wrong. It's why would they have any interest in us? It drives me crazy when you have scientists who come out and make arguments that are statistically absurd. So, according to deGrasse Tyson, the fact that he's arguing that we're 1 in 200 trillion, that statistic would never work under any scenario, and yet that's what he comes out and talks about. And it's that type of misleading data and arguments that is just crazy. This phenomenon exists. We should get ready for it because it is coming. I assure you, I guarantee you it is coming. And frankly, it's been here. A guy named Bob Lazar, he's done he's done several interviews. Bob Lazar was stationed at what's called S4. It's Area 51, but it's more, I think it's east of Area 51. Lazar came out 10 years ago and said, I have been attempting to reverse engineer. Reverse engineering is where they take something and they say, let's see if we can figure this out. Lazar said he has been reverse engineering or attempting to reverse engineer UFO for over a year. He has been trashed, and they came after him in a million different ways. It turns out that basically everything he said has been true. It's disturbing that Lazar comes out and says this, but there's multiple other people, including Lou Elizondo is a guy who was hired to oversee the government's investigation of UFO. Lou Elizondo is amazing, and he just says it. He says there are these phenomena that not only can you not explain them, they are not from the planet. Not from the planet. And, and so people take that as not from the planet as meaning it's not a UFO. Well, if it's not from the planet, it has to be here. Lou Elizondo talks about that when they're going to release this report, not just the Tic Tacs and other things like that. And some of you have seen the triangles who were swarming the aircraft carrier on the West Coast. But Elizondo says there's a picture of a UFO that's taken directly out of the window of a fighter jet, and he says it's 50 feet away from the window. 50 feet, and it is extraordinary in size. And he says it removes any doubt that these are UFO. These are alien technologies that are here today. And yet the government, we'll see if that comes out, but that information has been available, and it's been available forever. And if we don't start understanding it or opening our minds, people are going to lose their mind when this happens. These people are here. These entities are happening. The government is part of it, and I'll be done with this. And I'm obsessed. One thing the government is doing, and this is what I love, this is just the government, how they lie to us. They're saying, well, we can't say these are aliens, but we know they aren't us. Well, so if you can say they are not us, how can you say they are not alien? You can't. And when you look at the technology, it simply is not from this place. It's not from this earth. The government, though, is the spin they're trying to put on this is that this could be Russia or China spying on us. And I've listened more and more. This was the real reason I wanted to do this today is that spin, we have to reject it. It's absurd. It's absurd. Russia can't feed itself. China, literally, what people think China's so amazing is China. 60% of people in China live in basic abject poverty. But more importantly, if you think China had the ability to swarm our aircraft carriers and to travel faster than the speed of light, and you think that they've not used that against us, you're high. You and Kamala Harris need to go to Europe is what you need to do. It's fucking crazy. And so the other thing is they say it could be drones. This idea that a drone, see, here's the premise of the speed of light. In theory, no one can go the speed of light, no thing could travel faster than the speed of light, which of course would include drones. But we have the government saying to us that these gigantic, some of these, it's like the lights over Phoenix, which was 15 years ago, 2 days straight, just utterly stunning video of a gigantic entity that is no propulsion system, no sound, no wings, just literally just cruising along. This idea that these things are happening oh, hi Jeff. Jeff's a fucking alien. This idea that these things are happening and the government doesn't know, is crazy. This stuff is here. It's coming out, and we need to respond to it, and we need to know about it. And that's my fucking point on this whole thing. It is so incredible that you have to tell people now. If you don't tell people now, they're gonna die. There was one time I thought I've never seen a UFO, which pisses me off. But the one time I did
on some cornfields,
I should, right?
I know.
The
Start
one
chilling.
time, but I tell you what though, and this is true. The one time I thought I did, it was like 3 years ago. They had done a launch from SpaceX, and Zach, our friend Zach Miller,
yeah,
what's up, Zachy, calls me and says, "Dude, look out your window." And I lived in the water, and I go to my window, I look out, and as God is my witness, I'm watching this thing. And I said, this changes everything. I mean, it was profound. I sat there and watched. And then after a while, I realized, wait a minute, because I could smell the jet fuel.
Yeah.
And if you look at any type of alien technology, what they ostensibly have is they've learned it to use gravity or to defeat gravity. And so they don't use jet fuel. It's just using gravity as a momentum, as a propulsion device. So I could smell that, and I was like, okay, that's weird. But I'm telling you, for a week after that, I had PTSD. It was because I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and it was giant. Just the propulsion, the fire coming out of the back. It was so big. I said, it really looked extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
And even after I realized it wasn't, for a week or two, it was because I was thinking, man, this is crazy. This changes everything. Where we're at now is when people, what we're seeing now, it is at least 1,000 years ahead of us. What these UAP do is unthinkable in the context of this world in which we live. And it's coming. But the government won't tell people the truth. And they lie about it. And it's going to be funky when people see it, because and again, I'm a believer, but when it happens, it's going to be stunning, dude. Stunning. These people, these entities, do things that we can't even imagine. And that's, by the way, if you the former director of the Israeli equivalent of NASA came out and said, hey, there are alien bases on Mars, and we have been interacting with aliens for 50 years. I don't know if that's true. There have been multiple reports of that, but I think what's getting ready to happen is going to just stun people, and we should just tell people the truth. We should say it now. Which case I'd be right, and I'd be like, I told you, motherfucker.
I know. Bet now.
If you bet on that,
go to every bar in America. Hey man, I bet you that. Yes.
All right, how long is that, Marky? Are we done?
Like 25 minutes.
Oh man, I was trying to do 15. I'm sorry about it. I love UAPs. We're going to talk a lot about it. Just have an open mind and think about it and look, and don't suspend your common sense. When you see something that does things that no one has ever done, one, don't believe it's Russia or China, and two, just use your common sense. This is coming. This is coming, people. And so, unless you're Kamala Harris, in which case it's not coming, she's just going to be condescending to people of color on the border.
And never leave the United States. Because we're real Americans. We don't go other places.
God, this is painful. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Marky, you got anything?
No.
Mark Samuel Media Production?
Yeah, that's me.
All right. Mark Samuel Media Production. Check Mark out. Check his production out. He's thin again. That's all we got. See you guys next week. Bye.